You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 52 of Teach Better Talk. I'm Ray Hewart, but you already knew that, and you're really eager to hear that I'm with the epically supreme Jeff Gargas.
Epically supreme, where did you get it?
Okay, I totally got it from the amazing educator that we are going to be interviewing later in this podcast. I'm going to save all the juicy details for later. But Jeff, I just think you are so epically supreme.
I don't believe you, but I like it. That's awesome. So
to me, it sounds like Taco Bell. That's what it sounds like.
I'm like the Gordita Crunch of the Teach Better Talk podcast. I will take it.
Something like that.
Great. I love it. I'm a fan of Taco Bell, even somehow still at this age. So,
well, Jeff, how are you doing? How's your week going?
I'm doing great now. I'm kind of thinking about Taco Bell at this point. But I'm feeling good. The week's going great. It's been a fun week. I just love what we do. So, I love getting to do this and chat with our guests and to just be connected with our podcast listeners and everything. So,
gosh, and we had so much going on this week that I'm just proud of us that we are powering through and taking this excitement and running with it. So I feel like it's been exhausting.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring something up, if you don't mind. So recently, we've had a couple posts about this, and then I actually had someone reach out to me about some tips on flexible seating.
Sure, it's a hot topic.
And I know you know about it's a hot topic. We see a lot of it in some of the awesome classrooms that we go to. We've seen some really cool examples of it. Your classroom itself is an awesome example of some really cool flexible seating. So I want to kind of flip to you and say, just talk to you about so my son's school is actually, so I do some work with the PTO, and we're actually working to give all the teachers in his school money to go get flexible seating options that are for classrooms. So I'm super excited about that. We actually had a teacher that asked there too, and I was trying to explain to another parent about why that was important. So can you help me and anybody else who's listening, tell me why is flexible seating important? What's the point of it? Why is it such a hot topic right now?
It's really interesting, and I'm not even sure how long we have. I could talk on this for hours, but flexible seating is a really hot topic that has a lot of moving pieces that teachers need to consider. And we've been blogging a lot about the teacher perspective of getting students comfortable in the classroom and trying to create little spaces, within the classroom where students can collaborate or, have time to themselves, or, all these couches and high top tables and standing tables and all these amazing things. And we've even been blogging about the 6 most common mistakes that they can make with flexible seating. In my mind, one of the biggest ones for flexible seating is quantity over quality. So wanting to kind of jump full force into flexible seating, but not considering the fact that we see a ton of kids throughout the day. I was going to say, for my classroom, I see 150 throughout one day, and things are just not durable enough for them. So, kind of warning teachers that when you want to dabble with this, take your time, slow down, just like you would with any good initiative, right? You'd take time, you'd do your research, and you'd implement pieces slowly so that you can, transition appropriately and your kids can learn to transition appropriately. It's been interesting, though. I've been talking about this a lot with administrators, and they share a whole different perspective on flexible seating. Regardless, though, I think the biggest element that teachers need to take away is the aim to get rid of students sitting in rows and having teachers monopolize the learning time. I think that's where flexible seating is really headed, and the why behind why teachers are dabbling with it is because, we have this very traditional model of the classroom with students sitting in desks facing the chalkboard, and the teacher is, standing at the front. It's typically a woman, and it's very, black and white. And that is just not how classrooms look or should look if we are preparing students for the futures that we don't even know what those look like yet. They need to be fluid, and they need to allow for students to take ownership over their learning more than anything else. So This is a big topic. I'm sorry to ramble on and on, but if you are somebody dabbling in flexible seating, there's tons of blogs out there. I would encourage you to go check those out and just start talking to people. It's such a cool concept.
Yeah, so you can get some of those over at teachbetter.com. We have a bunch more in the works as well, more resources coming out of that because it is such a hot topic. And I think the point you made was about the quality over quantity is such an important piece. And it was funny when you were talking about like the reason why like my mind kept going because we're in flexible learning now. We're not just the strict row learning. We're letting students work at their own pace and we're focusing on different things and it's just flexible. So they need these areas to be flexible in. I'm going to keep using that word. So I love it. I'm excited that it's coming to our schools here, which is really cool because I've seen it in so many different places. And we've seen some really awesome setups and options for flexible seating, so it's really cool.
And we've given a lot of those options in our blog. I mean, one blog we did was like the extremes of flexible seating, and sometimes it's just like go try a table. Like make sure you have tables in your classroom, and that's the first steps in dipping your toes in the water. And if you're a teacher listening to this, it's okay to dabble a bit with new initiatives to see what works best for your kids. Because Jeff, I mean, geez, we talk about this all the time, but that's the whole point, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, the whole point, it's just all about the kids, right? Figuring out what's best for them, which reminds me of our guest tonight. So much of what Jeff talked about was putting kids first and focusing on the kids. So speaking of that, our interview today was with Jeffrey Kubiak, who an awesome elementary school principal who has been in RPLN for quite some time now, super active in Master Chat, always jumping in, sharing his thoughts and his wisdom. He's a super fun guy, which you guys are going to hear in the episode. He was so much fun to interview with. Has a really unique background, Ray. We discovered that he's actually a gold medalist swimmer.
Yeah, that was insane. It came out of nowhere.
I knew he swam, but I didn't see that coming. I figured he did some swimming in college, which he did, but then he went up and he did that, just barely missed the Olympics, which he shares that story with us. There was something that he said that I'm really excited. I'm actually going to share it right now, but the story behind it is really cool. But a quote that I want to pull out is that every kid has a fight, and we have to help them put the gloves on. And that's just a glimpse into some of the, just absolute gold that Jeff lays out in this episode. Ray, is there one specific piece that he said or something that you're excited for our listeners to hear?
I just love, Jeff carries so much passion with him, and I love that he is a principal by trade. He just loves being an elementary school principal, and it comes across in his stories, his excitement, and I was very excited that he announced that he's publishing a children's book. I think if there's anybody who should be publishing children's book, it should be a fabulously passionate elementary school principal. Yes. How cool is that?
It's been a fun book. Jeff's going to take a deep dive into that book about what to expect and when to expect it, who he's publishing with. So without any further ado, we're gonna let you guys stop listening to us as much. We're going to get into the interview here. This is episode 52 with Jeffrey Kubiak. All right, I am excited. We are talking with Jeffrey Kubiak, and we are for episode 52. Ray, can you believe it's 52 already? This is amazing. Super excited. Jeff, we want to first very quickly say thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, getting on with us, having some fun with us, and letting us dive into your world and in your mind a little bit. Before we do anything, man, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling 7 Up. Remember that commercial? Feeling 7 Up. I'm feeling 7 Up.
I do remember.
Boy, yeah, I'm good. Ready to go.
This is going to be a little confusing with two Jeffs on here. How are we going to swing this? I'm on Jeff overload right now, and we're not even on question 1.
I'm the older Jeff, so that means I'm the handsomer one.
Oh, well then, the more handsome Jeff, I do want to turn the first question to you. And it has to do with just an introduction. I'd love for you to share with our listeners kind of how you describe yourself and everything you've been able to do in education.
Honestly, I look at myself as just like a plain guy. I'm just, I don't know. I'm a son, a dad, a husband. But I think when it comes to education, it's kids first. And I started using that hashtag 6 years ago, and that's who I am. I use my swimming, my coaching, my teaching, my administrator background to kind of bring in different perspectives so that I feel like I can really reach every child.
I love it. And Jeff, you have a really cool background. I don't know if a lot of people know about your swimming background, so we can kind of touch on that a little bit. But actually, you know what? Let's just do that right now. Because you and I have talked, and you've mentioned it before, and I was actually interested. And we didn't have enough time for me to like dive into it. But can you give us like a glimpse into your background in swimming? Because I know you competed. I know you used to speak about it. Can you give us like the overview of what that life was like?
Yeah, that's kind of where my grit and perseverance, I believe, comes from. Is that I was like the little guy growing up, and so I had to work a lot harder than others in the pool. And I fought. And I was a walk-on at a Division II school in college. And then I just kind of hit my stride. And I had a great coach, Pete Accardi, bless his soul. He passed a few years ago. But at Cal State Northridge, and then I did really well. I won 7 NCAA Division II titles. I was a 5-time record holder. And then I went on to Pan American Games back in the old days in '87, won a gold medal there, was on the U.S. national team, and then '88 Olympic trials, I didn't have a great swim, so I missed the Olympic team by 12 100ths of a second, and kept pushing, and then an injury told me it was time to stop, so I became a coach, and I got to travel around the world with USA on my back and meet some of the most incredible people. Most of the real dear friends I have are from my swimming and coaching days. And I think it's, coaching is teaching. It's just I had a different medium. It was water. And it's just a big part of my DNA and who I am. So.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far, but I want to give a little shout out. If you are listening and gaining so much value from this podcast, we so value you as a listener, but we want to see you in person. You have to consider submitting a proposal to our Teach Better conference this November 8th and 9th. We not only would love to see you there in person, but we want you to share your insight, share all the magic going on in your classroom, and add to the value of this incredible weekend. If you are eager to submit a proposal, head to teachbetterconference.com, and I can't wait to hear from you.
When I asked the question, I'm not even joking. I was expecting I swam in college, and I won a couple meets. I didn't expect this story. Like, you were a heck of a swimmer, apparently. Like, this was a big deal. Like, I know you talked about it because you speak about it, so I figured you were good. But that's awesome. Like, I didn't know that. I'm really glad I asked. Ray, did you know any of that?
No, I'm sitting over here being like, wow, I have way more questions than I thought.
Jeff's been in our PLN for a while now, very active, in Mastery Chat. Like we've interacted with him a lot, and then I didn't even know. So that's really cool, and really brings up my next question, which we talk about failure a lot here, and I was already going to say, you've had a lot of different roles in education, being and different things you've done in the classroom, and then as administrator and stuff. But then you throw in this, and you experience swimming, and at such different levels and high levels of competition and everything like that. Like, there's got to be a lot of these stories of adversity and challenge and stuff. But I was hoping that if you can take us into one story where you've had a failure or something that set you back, can you kind of take us there with you, share that story? What happened? Why was it a failure? How did you overcome it? And then what'd you take away from that?
Dude, did you just call me a failure? Because that's so not cool.
I did. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's not like an if. It's how often I fail, right? And so I reflect on my mess-ups and my mistakes all the time. And, when teaching in 5th grade, I left a kid outside of a classroom for hours, talked to John Harper about that on my bad, and was humiliated by a father, which I would have done the same thing. I turned the lights out in the pool when it was pitch black and left the swimmers treading water. I used to be like, it was kind of Jeff's way or the highway in the classroom, Mr. Compliance, the king. And, I would flip desks over if they were too messy. And it's just it's so embarrassing to even think about myself back then. But, we adjust, we reload, we reflect, re-examine, keep iterating and crushing it. And then when it breaks, you re-crush it. And you kind of figure out when it's working. And when you think you're doing stuff the way it should have been done instead of the way it needs to be for our students, you got to change, right? So, my big thing is I ask 800 kids to change every day. And if the adults can't be that malleable or have that mindset, then I don't understand what their why is, because we have to adapt to what the world is doing to our kids.
Wow, there's so much in there. Adapting to what the world is doing to our kids. You ask 800 kids to change every day. If the adults can't do it, I love the re-crush it. So when it breaks, you re-crush it. Like, man, that's awesome. So now let's flip it here, and I'm sure there's a lot of these. You actually already labeled off a few of them, like gold medals and stuff. But let's talk about a success now, and it's gonna be something big or something small. But take us there with you. What happened? Why was it a successful moment for you? And then what'd you take away from that?
I think after finding so many different ways to reach different students, swimmers, parents, staff members that someone else hasn't. So, I look back and maybe it was going to a kid's house who didn't come to school because he didn't have shoes, and then playing with him. Letting an upset kid who's throwing a ruckus in an office come in color and just watch him calm down. Jumping into the pool to help someone understand the mechanics of swimming better by actually watching or having me help them do it because their learning style is different. We're all influencers, we're all leaders, but at times, sometimes we forget the how. And so I'm successful when a kid, teacher, family member, friend smiles and feels good about himself. I was successful Saturday when I left the nursing home and my dad said, "I loved you," for probably the third time in my life, and that those kind of things mean a lot to me.
Jeff, every time we're able to have a conversation, which has happened frequently, thankfully, I'm very fortunate to call you a friend. I just continue to get value from you. And one of the things that I always take away is just your passion for kind of getting your hands dirty when you need to. You're always somebody who's, your analogy of not even analogy, your example of jumping in a pool to demonstrate how to swim is really like the perfect picture I have of you is, if it needs to be done, Jeff will go do it and make sure it's done well. I just think that's so cool. So I appreciate that about you. And
Thank you.
I would love to hear what is getting you excited about education right now. Obviously, you're doing a lot. You continue to do a lot. But what keeps you refueled and that fire lit?
The 800 at my school every day, and it's the 30% that are not succeeding. That is my driving force every morning at 4:30 when my alarm goes off. I need to push it because unfortunately people in this world don't look at those with the same eyes as I do, and so and then my first ever children's book is coming out in a couple months, and it's all about kindness, and I think our world is missing that. And if I can get kindness into one school or one kid's hands that maybe didn't have it, then I win, because that kid's going to win and someone hopefully will win from him. And so every kid's got to fight, and we have to help them put the gloves on,
Absolutely. So when it comes to all that you've been able to accomplish, I'm sure you've been able to give some advice before, and I'd love to transition our conversation to see what piece of advice you feel like new teachers or teachers that are, just trying to stay with it, stay progressive, and really reach their students. What type of advice would you give those teachers?
Connect with someone you admire. Go observe them. Watch them. Ask your principal to cover you. I offer this all the time, but people don't do it enough. Jennifer Gonzalez wrote this great post about why we need to be watched. If I'm new, I've got to see someone who rocks, and that way I can understand not so much pedagogically speaking, but classroom wise and relationship wise, and I want them to go in and learn from the best. And also, talk to every kid. Get to know them. Take them out to lunch. Go across the street. Go bowling. Go climb a tree. But it's like cliche with the whole relationships first, second, last, always. But people don't do it enough. And it's like, if I don't get to know little Jeff and Ray for who they are, and I didn't see when they got home, they maybe got the snot kicked out of them because they didn't, put their shoes away at night or whatever, then I don't know. And then we overreact or incorrectly respond to them in the classroom. So there we go. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's great advice, and I mean, it's so important to understand where our students are coming from and what they're dealing with, and to think about that and be aware of that and get to know them for those reasons. I want to talk really quick. You touched on it about the book that you have coming out, Jeff. Do you know when it's coming out? Do you have an idea, or is that set?
Yeah, it should be the first week of May.
The publish date,
according to the awesome Sarah Thomas of EduMatch.
I was just gonna say you're doing that with Sarah and them over at EduMatch, which is awesome.
Really fired up. So yeah, One Drop of Kindness, the book is called, and it should be first week of May.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? Dive into the book a little bit. Like what can we expect? Who should buy this? What can I expect when I read it? Like what was the purpose behind it? What made you write it? I mean, all that.
Yeah,
I want to know everything.
One drop of kindness. So the saying that kind of goes throughout the book is one drop of kindness is all it takes to fill a heart with love. And that's, I've always tried to push kindness first in every school or everything I've done. The main character has had a rough life. He's moved from school to school, house to house. He's at a school that hasn't found kindness until one lovely young girl comes into school and shows how easy it is to just bring a drop of kindness into everyone's heart. And it changes the school, the community, and actually becomes kind of a domino or ripple effect across everywhere. There's not an elementary school that I could see that shouldn't have this book, but it's also great for middle and adults to have to take home and read to their kiddos. I think it's kind of for everyone personally.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to spill the beans here, but I've gotten a little preview sneak peek of this book. Did you know that?
I did not know that. How
well,
did you do
I know
that?
this guy. His name's Jeff, but it's not Jeff Gargas.
She made a few calls, pulled some strings.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure Jeff standing with me just fell down. But go ahead. Ray. So Ray, what was your take on it? What are your thoughts? Let's take it from the outside.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially for our listeners. I'm sure if you know, but I don't have children and I teach sixth graders. So the concept of reading a children's book I felt very honored you asked, but I just felt completely out of my realm of knowledge base, right? I mean, when I get to hang out in elementary school classrooms with the Teach Better team, to hang out with teachers and work on, whatever professional development, I really don't get much exposure, though, to the ins and outs of a good children's book. But I recently started using children's books to teach my sixth graders, especially when I was a language arts teacher, because there's so much value in kind of meeting students where they're at and bringing in content that just has just great morals and good descriptive writing. And there's so many magical pieces of a children's book that I don't know if you're not somebody who's opened a children's book recently, y'all got to go open one because they're powerful stories. So, Jeff, I loved reading your children's book, and I'm so excited for it to be out. It has a beautiful cover, and it's not just going to be something that you read at home with your 3-year-old and, at bedtime and have those special moments, but it's a great tool to use in the classroom at any age and to just meet students where they're at and have, authentic conversations around a really complex but simple concept of kindness.
Wow, thank you.
That's a pretty good review right there, Jeff. I think it's gonna be okay.
C+.
All right. So I wanted to throw one more at you. This is one that we get to talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different realms of education. We talk a lot with teachers, and with what we do when we work with districts around the country is that we get the privilege of working with both teachers and administrators, and we sometimes see a sort of a gap, for a lack of a better term, between the two, because there's so many different things that happen in the worlds of administrators and teachers and stuff that sometimes it feels like there could possibly be opposing sides, even though we're supposed to be on the same team. So I love to talk with administrators. Now, you're an elementary principal, so I want to see if you could tell us if there was one thing that you could share to all teachers from the admin perspective. What would that be? one thing you want them to know that you hope your teachers know and all of the teachers know about you administrators?
Because I may disagree with you does not mean I won't support you. That's it right there. I mean, we all have our own opinions, and we all, say we know or are going to do what's best for kids. But, I'm going to support the heck out of my teachers that are in there killing it for kids. Unless, of course, there's, something immoral or abusive or whatever. But I'm going to disagree always. If we're going to push and push and push, that's okay. I'm still going to go in and support you. What do you need? What can I do for you? Can I cover your class so you can do something else? Doesn't mean I don't like you. I can just disagree. And I think that gets in the way of the relationships. People take things too personally. Oh, shoot, Ray didn't like my idea. She hates me. No, she has a different opinion and maybe thinks about another way. So let's open our brains to someone else's, viewpoint.
That's such a critical. That's not even just. That's just in life in general. But Ray, we talk about that all the time. How like on our team, we've had conversations. At some point, we say, "Hey, look, we all just are going to understand that there is a level of respect for each other that never changes, no matter what. Even if I tell you your idea is completely stupid, and that allows us to be able to have really, I think, productive and sometimes very passionate but productive arguments and conversations to figure out what's best for what we're trying to do and follow our mission. It's the same thing in there. So I love it. That's awesome. That's perfect.
Hey,
all
right. Sorry, I'm such a jerk.
No, go. You're good, man. You can always interrupt me, Jeff.
So it's important, Jeff, because I think it gets mixed into the clouds of school so much and that's when the culture starts to melt and break and crack and fall apart, is that it becomes personal. So then we start gossiping. Oh, Jeff doesn't like me because, I brought this idea up and he hates it, blah, blah, blah. No, we're in here. We got to keep trusting each other, and we have to find new ways. I can't be 1972 desks in a row. I'm sorry.
No, you have to challenge each other to think differently and advance and challenge ideas. Sometimes you got to play devil's advocate. You got to figure out, what is this really the best thing? Are we doing the best we can? And you can't do that by just saying yes and always. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's so crucial, especially when the task that teachers are tasked with and administrators are tasked with is so vitally important to everything in our world. Educating students in the future of our world, you can't let that personal, taking a personal thing get in the way.
Exactly.
So awesome. I love that. I'm so glad we went there. I don't even know how we got there, but I'm glad we got there. But now we're going to have a little bit of fun, Jeff. We're going to do the next 6 questions. You got 15 seconds or less to answer each. You ready to roll?
Bring it, baby.
What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Voxer.
Love it. What's a book that you're reading right now?
Dare to Lead. Brene is the woman.
Who do you need to follow on Twitter today? Besides
you two stars, John Alsheimer, Hans Apfel, and Tamara Letter. Those are you got to follow those peeps.
Awesome. What's the best YouTube channel for educators?
TED Ed, National Geographic.
And give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine that every teacher should get into.
Twitter check, mindfulness, eyes closed break, delete the email app from your phone, disconnect, get to know your students, and take a break.
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Follow your heart.
Ooh. Man, did he just nail that, Ray.
Love it. So good. Even with the stopwatch out, you did awesome. Well, Jeff, I have probably the most important question to ask you tonight, and it's how people can continue this conversation. So would you mind sharing out how people can connect with you?
I would love it. Twitter, at Jeffrey Kubiak. Instagram, AquaCube. That's with a Kube. My website, or it's actually a blog, is principalkubiak.blogspot. And I just started a YouTube channel yesterday, Pushing Boundaries. That was kind of fun. My book, One Drop of Kindness, due to you soon. And join me on Voxer too, Jay Kubiak. I love boxing.
Fantastic. And you can get all the info and everything we talked about in the links, especially those links to connect with Jeffrey over at teachbetter.com. So make sure you head over there for all that good stuff. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any more of the upcoming episodes. And please, if you can do us a favor, hit the rate and review, leave us a rate and review, because a lot of you are listening and you're not subscribed, you're not rating, you're not reviewing, I'm telling you right now, Ray is paying attention. She's watching you, and she's coming for you. So please do that. We really, really appreciate that. Jeff, really appreciate you coming on, man, spending some time with us, sharing your stories and your insights, and really looking forward to the book and to continuing just to get to know you and build our relationship. It's been a blessing to have you in our lives and in mine as well. So really appreciate you coming on and doing this with us, man.
Finest 30 minutes of my day, and by far I've had in a while. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you.
Fantastic. And until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.